And with this, we move on to our next panel, which is learning from best practices. And for this, I invite Mr. Rohan Kochar, Director, Public Policy, Scotch Group, to take over and run the proceedings. Rohan.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Dhanjal. Good afternoon and welcome to panel 3 of 67th Scotch Summit. And thank you for staying with us throughout the proceedings of the day. Many projects have so far won the Scotch Order of Merit, and many will go on to win the Scotch Award later this day as well. The subject of this panel is learning from best practices. And in a country as diverse and as vast and as broad as India, what are the specific project level interventions which have created effective change at the last mile? What were the challenges and circumstances which administrations had to adapt to? What challenges did they overcome? And how did they deliver to the citizens who they were tasked with protecting? We discuss some of these through these panel. We also look at how champion-led initiatives can become systemic in the long run, so they aren't person-dependent, how these can be replicated and scaled nationally. Despite all odds, what are the external and internal challenges that these projects have overcome to achieve what they have set out to as a response to this pandemic? Since we have a lady in our midst, I think we are compelled and we must start with Dr. Aarti Singh, Superintendent of Police, Nashik Rural Police. And do we have Dr. Aarti Singh with us? Dr. Singh?
Yes, I'm very much there.
Right, ma'am. So Dr. Aarti Singh has had to deal with communal sensitivities. She has had to deal with limited police personnel. She has had to deal with a high dependence on power loom. And she has deployed something which is now being called the Malegaon model to enforce the lockdown, to reinforce police presence at hospitals. They've used a customized and targeted approach for everything from COVID prevention to man management to intelligence collation. Madam, please tell us a little about this project and what you've done in your district.
Yeah, so briefly, I would first start with the introduction of what the scenario was when COVID started in that particular city. The city is known for its volatility, where
Madam, we can't see. Can I please request you to turn your video on for the live stream?
Yeah, I've done it.
Okay, thank you.
So this was like, this is the city which is known for its volatility, and it's known for its two bomb blasts which were there. So this makes the city very volatile. And with the Marcus event, the fallout of the Marcus event was seen over there. There was a lot of panic and fear in the city, where clear-cut communal divide was seen. Some TikTok videos were uploaded telling that Corona will decide who will stay in India and who will not the NRC, and all those videos were there. So we immediately started with arresting those people who were spreading false rumors about COVID. Secondly, Malegaon is a city of power looms. 70% of the population lives on the power looms only, and since power looms were closed, there was a lot of resentment in the public because there was nothing to eat. And with the month of Ramzan, 1 month of Ramzan over there, and people not having anything to eat, was making the situation all the more volatile. So we started with, first of all, distributing free ration to the public, in and especially the customized ration. Like we had whatever was required for the month of Ramzan, we were distributing it to the public, because through CSR we pulled in a lot of and we have resources there in Nashik. So many people, Nashik is the agriculture capital of the country, in the sense onions and grapes grow from the Nashik to the entire country. So we could pull in a lot of resources, and we could almost every family there got free ration for the entire month of Ramzan. Secondly, we also ensured that the essential supplies reach their doorstep. So there's no panic. People do not think that we are deliberately trying to implement the harshest part of the lockdown over one particular community. Then we started reviving the power looms. That had the tremendous effect. One, because power looms are an area which are a little open and more ventilated than the shanties where people were staying, because there people, 70% of the population is below poverty line. They live in shanties, and they work in shifts in the power looms. When the power looms were closed, they were all forced to stay in small 10 by 10 rooms together, which was just causing an increase in the spread of the disease. Now, when the power looms were started, these people could go back to the power looms. So one, it created employment. People could get money, they could feed their families, and the spread of the disease could be curbed in a big way. Secondly, meantime, there were a lot many Maulanas who fell prey to COVID, they died. So their funerals, because there's a restriction on the number of people who would be attending the funerals. So that was a big challenge, how to tackle, how to spread this information that the funerals should not be, there should not be a huge outpour. So we devised our own ways how to not let the people come. I mean, not many people attend the funerals. We had to do I mean, sometimes it was to be a very, very surprise thing, where when the body is going, we are not, sometimes we try to curb that the news should not spread, that the Maulana has died, otherwise people outpour would be there. So we had to devise many ways. Then meanwhile, we had so many festivals coming up. And to tell the people that festivals like you had Eid, you have Ganpati festival, which is the biggest festival of Maharashtra, and Ramzan Eid is the biggest festival of the Muslim community. So to tell them, to imbibe into them, to emphasize that this particular, the festivals cannot be and should not be celebrated. Nobody should come out into open to offer prayers in masjid, mandir. It was a difficult task. So what we did is we roped in the clergies, the local Maulanas over there, and they helped us in that. And then hospitals, yes. The biggest thing was not only the COVID patients, but the non-COVID patients were also dying because the hospitals had closed. So we started, we had a discussion with the members of the IMA, and whatever was required, because they were also panicky. They were not opening the hospitals for their own reasons. They had a fear. So we started providing them PPEs, because they wanted the PPEs for the entire staff. So we started providing them PPEs through, again, CSR, and hydroxychloroquine was being distributed freely. The staff was also given. So with all this, with a continuous dialogue with the hospital staff and the doctors, we assisted them, supported them to open the hospitals. Once the hospitals opened, there was a remarkable decrease in the mortality in the entire town, because it was not only the COVID patients who were suffering, but non-COVID like diabetes, cardiovascular diseases. There was a lot of mortality because the hospitals had closed, because there was the hospitals had closed, and the non-COVID patients also could not get the emergency medical treatment, and that was increasing the fatality. But surprisingly, there was a remarkable decrease in the mortality the moment the hospitals opened with our efforts.
That's quite an interesting multi-pronged strategy that you deployed in your district, ma'am. We wish you all the very best for the success and the future of COVID management within your district. We've just heard from Dr. Aarti Singh the strategies and the best practices that were deployed in Nashik. Now we move to Mr. Jitendra, Shri Jitendra, who is Additional Director General of Police from Telangana, looks after law and order. Telangana has had to overcome several external as well as internal challenges. They have deployed digital tech interventions such as IENC activities, implementing an integrated command and control center, as well as a dedicated COVID war room. They are doing GIS mapping in their state. They've implemented an e-pass system. We would like to hear from you, sir, the specific strategies, the challenges that you faced in COVID management from the policing perspective within your state, and how you overcome some of these to achieve favorable outcomes within your state. Sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to be available on this platform and having useful discussions. as you have mentioned that we were one of the first state actually to respond to the COVID. If you see, after the Janta curfew, Telangana was the first state which enforced the lockdown. And immediately in continuation with the Janta curfew, lockdown was enforced. And enforcing the lockdown was the biggest challenge. And of course, with the at that time itself, at the top level, we had a discussion, and we set up the command and control room, and we also involved other departments also as part of the control room, so that we don't have coordination issues. The biggest challenge after the lockdown was because it was announced suddenly, and people were not mentally prepared for any lockdown. So it was a big challenge to ensure the essential services to all the people. And you all know that Hyderabad is seed capital of the country, where more than 70% of the seeds are produced here and marketed from Telangana. It is one of the important state where pharmaceutical industry is very, very important.
Right.
And maybe it is second or third in the country. So that was also another important issue where we had to ensure that production of all the pharmaceuticals is done, all the medicines is done, and the transportation to various parts of the country also happens. This was another very big challenge. Then another big challenge for us was this agriculture operations, because you know when this lockdown started, crop was ready for harvesting, and we had a bumper crop in this state because of various initiatives of the government, especially the irrigation projects and all that. So it was a big challenge for us to ensure that this operations, agriculture operations are not affected. On one hand, anyway, whole country was suffering, but if farmers suffer, that would have been a great loss for this nation. And we not only produce for ourselves, we produce for the various other states also agriculture produce. So it was a big challenge. So we had this control room, which was monitoring 24/7 and cross-functionally, like all other departments, whether it was agriculture department, stakeholders from the pharmaceutical industry, stakeholders for the e-commerce, because ensuring the essential supplies was also very important, because people were not prepared, they have not gathered the goods for themselves to survive. So we had this control room which was functioning 24/7. It was manned by one of the additional DG and a couple of DIGs, SPs, and of course a lot of officers. It functioned 24 hours. And I can tell you with my experience that we have ensured that all supplies are maintained up to 95 to 100%. There was not even a single incident where people complained that they are not getting these essential things. And we had bumper crop, and each and every kg of crop was cultivated, and it was harvested, and it was sold in the market. We gave all protection to all stakeholders, whether it was health personnel, it was agricultural personnel, it was pharmaceutical industry people, seed industry people. We were proactive in delivering services to them. Wherever they faced any issues, they could contact our control room and get the maximum support. And I can tell you proudly that all our operations were very successful. Pharmaceutical industry or seed industry or agriculture farmers, all were very, very happy, and they did not suffer anything. Mm-hmm. Then we also had one very important issue, that movement of the laborers, migrant laborers. Mm-hmm. So we generally get a few lakhs of laborers who are mostly engaged in construction industry, even this seed manufacturing and agriculture industry and pharmaceutical industry. So all we had few lakhs of laborers. So we were the first state to start the train in the country after government of India announced policy to allow the movement of migrant laborers. We were the first to start the train, and I can tell you that in Telangana we did not have any gathering of migrant laborers at any of the railway station. People were enrolled proactively by the police officers and the administration. They were told when they will be they will be going to their respective states. They were given coupons and they were picked up by the police officers and they were transported to the railway stations. And we did not have any gathering of even few migrant laborers coming to the railway stations and expecting that some train will be there waiting. And you have seen nationwide, there were so many law and order issues and all that. We did not have even a single incident, and we transported more than 2 lakhs of laborers without any incident. Then we moved around 151 trains from Telangana, and each person who was going in the train, if the travel time is 24 hours, we had given him food, water, everything for 36 hours. And it was given to him at the railway station. And in fact, we were very delighted to see that all these migrant laborers, while going, they always said that they want to come back as early as possible. And today, we see that most of the migrant laborers have started coming back. Rather, many of them have already come and they are doing their operations. Our economy also is not affected. If you really check up all over the country, our revenues and everything is going very well. We did not have any suffering of the people. Even the developed countries, you must have seen there were food riots and all that, but we did not have even single incident. We have gone to the extent of distributing 10 lakhs packets daily of cooked food to all the needy people. It was all coordinated by...
Fantastic, sir. I believe you're also doing a lot of work in terms of tracking and enforcement using drones and crowd and vehicle analytics. Could you tell us a little about that, please?
One important thing I must tell all of you is that, and it should be recorded also, that we were the first state to know that there is a big gathering in Nijamuddin. So it was Telangana state which has followed up at all the forums through technology. And then through technology, we have traced each and every person who has moved from Nijamuddin to Telangana. And from other states also, if they have moved to Telangana, we have tracked each and every person. We have isolated him. We have tested him. We have quarantined him, and all with the help of technology. You know, there was a lot of stigma for people to disclose their movement and all that, because there was a lot of stigma that people may may not be liked by other community people. Mm-hmm. So we have taken all steps to ensure that each and every person who has gone for that gathering is identified. And we have done a lot of technology interventions where we have utilized various analytics like gatherings. If any gatherings are there, we have a strong network of around 6 lakhs of camera in the entire state. We are at the top in the country, and we are among the first 20 in the world. So out of 20, 18 are in China, and one is in London, and we are the other one in the country. So we have, and we have used all analytics. To name this analytics, I would say one is crowd formation, second is the movement of the vehicles and people. So then third is even mask. we have used the analytics, whether people are wearing masks or not. We have used it, and then we have this ITMS, that is Intelligent Traffic Management System, where we were monitoring whether how many vehicles are passing, whether it is justifiable or otherwise, and there is no unnecessary movement of the people. We have used ANPR, that is a number plate recognition system, and whether these vehicles have been authorized by the department. And e-pass system was another very good thing which has happened. We ensured that people in distress, they are helped. So we not only had e-pass system, we had the manual system also, because in society there will be a lot of people who are not digitally savvy. So we ensured that parallel system works. And in Telangana, I can assure you that people who were in distress, especially like pregnant women, children, got small children, maybe less than 10 years of age, they were separated from their parents or relations. They were united. And then we had...
Thank you very much for sharing the Telangana perspective of law and order and policing and COVID management within your state. All the efforts that you're doing are fantastic, and we hope and pray that your work within the field continues, sir. We've just heard from Shri Jitendra how Telangana was one of the first states to respond to the COVID pandemic. Similarly, in Gujarat, Rajkot was the first district wherein the first case of COVID was found, and therefore mitigation became imperative. During lockdown, Rajkot has seen 9,142 cases registered under existing laws and 38,690 vehicles have been detained. We would like to hear from Mr. Manoj Agarwal, Commissioner of Police, Rajkot City, on how his city is responding to the COVID pandemic and dealing with the crisis at hand. Over to you, Mr. Agarwal.
Thank you, Rohan. Thank you for giving an opportunity for us to discuss, and it's such a esteemed gathering. And I will just like to add up, it was a pandemic where everyone was facing a unique type of problem. And as a Commissioner of Police of a city with a population of 2 million, initially our intention was to ensure that we should become safe. Our purpose as a police officer is always to make a city safer from crime and criminals. But this time we were making it safer from an invisible enemy, that is COVID. Fortunately, we came out with the flying colors. Initially I talked to my officers and men. We told them that it is after a century that we are coming up with this type of pandemic in this world, and we have to work day in and day out to ensure the safety, security of our people around in the city. The first thing which I ask my officers is to take care of their own security. And the first and the foremost, I have ensured that all my men and officers are protected from the COVID virus. For that, whatever thing was required, initially we have given them the mask, not to themselves, but to their families also. Try to explain them what everyone in this country is doing today is to keep a social distance and ensuring the sanitization. After that, we try to go ahead and ensure this goes down very well in the society. Initially, we never expected it will be such a difficult task. We could be able to manage it. But now, since it is a history, we are remembering it as a very good opportunity for the police officers and men to come out with the flying colors. In this, we not only come out with the flying colors, our reputation as a police officers have increased tremendously in the societies. Now I will go to the more detailing of part of it. As you have rightly said, the first case of Gujarat was in Rajkot city. But fortunately, whenever till the lockdown end, Rajkot city, the COVID people who are affected by the COVID never gone to the 3-digit. Though the Gujarat was figuring in the top 3 states till the lockdown, where the maximum number of cases were there. But fortunately for us, in Rajkot was hardly having a 75 cases. That too only limited to a one small place. The reason being, we immediately after the first case went to the tradition, what has been prescribed by the WHO. We went to the contact tracing part. And we went to very detailed. We fortunately used the technology, CDR analysis, location-based services and everything. Ensure that it doesn't spread out. People who are affected are timely quarantined. Then, first of all, lockdown implementation also, we were very scrupulous. We were, at the first time, we were explaining to the people, trying to convince them. At the secondly, as you have put across, more than 38,000 vehicles were detained and more than 9,000 cases were made. But before making the case or before detaining the vehicle, we were ensuring that the people are aware of what they are supposed to do and why they are supposed to do. We, as a unit head, as a commissioner of a city, this is Mehmet Tak shouldn't have was possible unless we use a latest state of art technologies. I now feel very proud of it. We were having a drone with us. We started with using the drone to identifying the crowd. Later on, our Honorable Chief Minister followed it in our state. And later on, Honorable Prime Minister also spoke about use drone to ensure that crowd doesn't gather. And this, our initial starting was copied throughout country, and country have taken a benefit out of it. Secondly, we were ensuring that people who have been quarantined are at their own place. We were using our traditional policing as well as the technological policing. Here we have used the Safe Rajkot app, which was just, I will go to the slightly technical part of it. It is just a location-based services along with the biometrics. We were forcefully downloading the Rajkot Safe app to each and every person who was quarantined, and they have to upload their own photograph from the location base. We were ensuring that they are at their place and uploading the photograph with the biometrics of that person, that no one else is doing it. This is a very small thing, but practically it helped us when the people were more than 10,000 people were quarantined in the city. We were, with the help of technology, ensuring every 4 hours that they are very much inside their place, as well as their location. Sometimes you can send off the mobile to someone else. You can leave the mobile and go out in the city. But we were ensuring that they are uploading their photographs so that biometrics is also taking place. Later on, we used this app with the time when the things were opening up. When the people were coming from different parts, people were coming from Maharashtra, people were coming from Surat, Ahmedabad, where the COVID cases were maximum, and the city was getting panicky. We ensured that everyone who is entering the city is downloading the app, because initially, in some phases, at the different phases, the government of India have given different rules that they have to be quarantined for a week. The moment they were entering the city, at all the entry point they were forced to. They were downloading the app and then they were going to their own places. This is the way how we have managed the home quarantine thing using the technology. At the same time, I will tell you, we 75 cases that totally which came up in 3.5 months during the lockdown. It was prescribed to the one place which is known as Jangleshwar. There also the word which was very prescribed during those time was ruthless. We were very ruthless in ensuring that the cantonment areas is followed very scrupulously. And then the word was micro-cantonment. Each and every lane, each and every house was ensured that they remain in their own places. We imposed curfew for a week. There also we didn't permit even 5 minutes permission to open it up. And we were able to do that because we were tough for enforcing the laws. At the same time, we were very humane that ensuring that each and every house get the eatables, essential community at their places. For that, I feel now really happy that by police officers, men work day and night, along with the various NGOs which were in the city. We were distributing more than 25,000 food packets to the laborers and the needies on the daily basis. We here also use the technology because we realize in the city there are so many NGOs which were more than 2 lakh food packets were distributed in the city. Now there was an overlapping. Then again we did the mapping where the demand is and where the supply is. And accordingly we made a map and where we ensure that everyone is getting the right, the people who want to make a food and distribute it are going to the place where no one has gone it. And there also in the back end, the police officers work very nicely. And among those 25,000 packets were made by the police officers and men. That was a personal touch given to it. Similarly, for migrant, everywhere the problem later on came out for the migrant laborers how to manage. Now, we also send more than 50 to 60,000 because Gujarat is one of the topmost industrial states. And so many people are from the whole over India. Right. After 2 months, when the government of India permitted that the migrant labor are permitted to go back, all of them went back. Only about 45, 50,000 went back. But within the shortest span, because the demand of the railways was they have to have a very prescribed list, we have a WhatsApp application online they were uploading, and within 24 hours we were ready with the more than 20 train load of people how to segregating and with the place where they are supposed to go. I always feel had the technology not been there in place, right, it would have been next to impossible to handle this pandemic in which we were bearing.
And it's heartening to hear that Rajkot City Police is deploying technology extensively to handle the pandemic at hand. And thank you very much for sharing the perspectives of Rajkot City Police in COVID management and COVID response. Before I open up the panel to expert inputs from our distinguished jury, we have Mr. UK Sharma, former advisor, Niti Aayog, and Mr. Nirmal Bansal, senior fellow, Scotch Development Foundation and Scotch jury member with us. I would like to stick with the policing perspective. While we are all focusing on man management and response from that perspective, it is equally important to care about wildlife. Dr. Varun Kapoor, Additional Director General of Police, Madhya Pradesh, is implementing Project Cyberclaw, which is a cybersecurity training module for wildlife protection, as well as a Red Poppy campaign, which seeks to combat illegal narcotics trade and trafficking within the state through an app called NarcoTap, as well as various initiatives such as the Sahas Abhiyan. Do we have Dr. Varun Kapoor with us? Dr. Varun Kapoor, we would love to hear from you, sir.
Good afternoon to everyone. And thank you so much for inviting me to speak a few words about the two projects which have been selected for this prestigious award. One is Cyberclaw, that is the one which is for the wildlife protection. And police has a role in wildlife protection also. And I had carried out a study because about the awareness of police, the resources with police, the training with the police officers, how they are inclined towards working in this field, and I found that the results were not very encouraging. So we designed this special project because I have been working for a long time in the field of cyber security, awareness, training, so many things. So we designed this special project so that we could train the forest officers in the new technologies, new techniques available with us, so that they get equipped with this new kind of learning, new understanding, and then they implement it in their work. As a result, they will obviously perform to a better level, and the results will be better. So that's what the idea was. It was taken up by the Government of India and Ministry of Environment and Forests, sanctioned this entire project, and they are coordinating it. It is being funded by the WWF and Traffic international organizations. And it is being sponsored by the various wildlife departments of the various states where it is being implemented. It's another unique thing. It's a collaboration of so many entities along with a special team of police officers, which is headed by me. We go for this whole project involves 2-day field training, where we go to the national parks and the tiger reserves, and the 6 identified tiger reserves. One is Sariska in Rajasthan, the other is Uttarakhand Corbett, Kaziranga in Assam, and then there is one Simlipal in Odisha, and 2 more in Karnataka, that is the Nagarhole Tiger Reserve, and of course the Kali Tiger Reserve. We have finished 5 of these field trainings before this COVID pandemic resulted in a kind of a shutdown, and then a small, the unlocks is quite going on. But still, the 6th training has not taken place. But these 5 field trainings have, and the final would be that we would select from these 6 places the good officers and get them to Indore, where I am posted, and train them for 2 weeks detailed hands-on training in various technologies. And this was the entire project, and it is going on, and it will produce great results, I'm sure, because the old technology, as soon as you inject technology into policing, into preventive work, into protective work, into detective work, the results will definitely be of a higher grade. That's for sure, because we have done it here in Madhya Pradesh Forest Department. We have trained the officers here, especially in various courses, and they have gone out and got about beautiful results. There's one MP STTF, the Special Tiger Task Force, which has been formed by the MP Forest Department. We trained them specially in these technologies, and they delivered great results. Just one example, one case, they caught one pangolin, a poached pangolin in one district of Madhya Pradesh, that is Balaghat. And from that, using technology, various techniques we had trained them in and taught them, they have arrested 166 people, and various rackets which were involved in it, various, networks were involved, tiger poaching networks. They have arrested 2 foreign nationals also, and red corner notices have been issued by Interpol for 4 Myanmar citizens, 4 Nepali citizens, and 2 citizens of Tibet and China, and all starting from one pangolin. So it is this is what technology is all about, how it brings about this change. That's what we are aiming for, that all these places should also be equipped. And we are not talking about radio collaring, camera trapping, drone surveillance, geofencing, the old kind of technology which was being used by the Forest Department for their investigative and preventive work. We are giving them new inputs like digital intelligence collection, digital surveillance, big data analytics and tools, social media investigation, YouTube monitoring, financial trails and investigation, and darknet analysis, cyber crime scene management, so many things. These are the new things, new technologies which are being taught to them, and the results I've told you about the MP STTF. And if this starts happening all over the country, I'm sure it is going to be a very positive contribution to our wildlife and our wild landscapes, which we can then protect and preserve in a better manner for the next generation. That is one project. The other is the Red Poppy campaign, which you were talking about. That's another very thing which is very important. Narcotic drugs are things which are affecting our society, our people, children, our youth especially. They are the targets for this kind of addiction, and we have there are 3 kind of strategies actually to deal with. Everyone knows that it is either supply reduction, or it's demand reduction, and it is harm reduction. So supply reduction, $500 billion illegal narcotics trade in the world, 3rd biggest business in the world, very difficult to only check through enforcement and catching all the criminals. Harm reduction will also come later, but main cheese which we are targeting, the main thing is the demand reduction. Once the demand reduces, obviously the supply will reduce, and definitely the harm will also reduce. So we started this strategy as for reducing the demand, and we have a multi-pronged strategy for that. And because great example of that is smoking, tobacco. When I was in college and all, there were a lot of people used to smoke. There was a lot of addiction of tobacco, but now it has reduced considerably. Why? Not because tobacco is illegal or it has all been caught and put in behind bars, those people who produce it. No, it is because people have become aware. So that's what I believe, that this is the way to go even here. And once you reduce the demand, you will definitely check the supply as well as the harm. So we have had a multi-pronged strategy, as I told you. We are doing a lot of the real world seminars and workshops with children and youth in colleges and schools through the Sahas Abhiyan, as you had said, but that's not enough. We have done a lot of physical world messaging. We have made films, we have made calendars, posters, banners. We have put it up in the city. We have shown the films all over the state, the specially made films. Digital outreach is also one of them. Websites have been developed. We have developed a special Facebook page with a lot of interactive kind of stuff, and webinars when we invite people from the various experts to come and talk about it and connect schools and colleges through it. So that's also we are doing. We have developed softwares, as you had said, one for the special way, and we have used academia actually. It has cost us nothing. Universities, students, we have got them, we have talked to them, explained the ideas to them, and they have come up with this app called NarcoTap. That is one of the universities in Indore, the students of computer science department. NarcoTap is for basically identifying the areas which are affected by this kind of drug trade, and the hostels, the schools, the colleges, the vulnerable areas where we can then be more careful and more attention towards awareness and speaking to the communities. So this NarcoTap software has been developed. We have also gone in for research. We have done extensive research in Madhya Pradesh, 6,000 sample and above in all districts of MP to find out the what to do in the policy matter. And then we have come up with a very good project called Kavach. We cannot go everywhere. We cannot connect everyone to us to send the message of awareness. I believe that the humans are thinking machines. Once the young child or the youth is made to think, he will definitely do a good job. So we have developed a project called Kavach. Government of India has sponsored that. 2.5 crores they have sanctioned. This will be a digital project. We will connect all schools with it, and then we will also give our message to them. So there are various ways to bring about awareness, and then I believe when awareness comes, then obviously there will be a. So these are various, I think, strategies which we can. It's a multiple pronged approach, and it will have a great effect, I'm sure, on the community.
Absolutely, I find myself in complete agreement with you, sir. Information, education, and communication strategies need to be the hallmarks of any social change program, and it's heartening to hear the work that you're doing in Madhya Pradesh. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Dr. Varun Kapoor, Additional Director General of Police, Madhya Pradesh, sharing his perspectives on Project Cyberclaw and the Red Poppy campaign. We've heard extensively from the policing perspectives, and now before we move on to the health perspective, we have Dr. Ramakrishna Rao, Commissioner, APVVP, Government of Andhra Pradesh, which is Arogya Andhra, with us. I would like to open up the panel for discussion from one of our jury members, Mr. UK Sharma, former advisor, Niti Aayog, who has been, evaluating these projects. He's been sitting on the other side of the table. He's been trying to understand how these best practices operate and are benchmarked. We would like to hear your perspective, Mr. Sharma. Mr. Sharma, you're on mute. If you could kindly unmute yourself.
Mr. Rohan, while we were evaluating all these projects, we found that lot of technology has been used in the management of COVID, in treatment and diagnosis of the COVID treatment, even tracking of migrant laborers, feeding hungry people. So my thinking is that it is better to prepare a compendium of at least 10-20 such best practices which can be used in future such situations. In fact, in one of the Andhra presentation, I have noted that one madam has developed a very small device which she fitted in the vehicle of police, and it used to work as a repeater station. So that communication link can be established even in the case of there is a huge disaster. So such practices, I think it is a time that a compendium should be prepared for such best practices which can be used for future applications. This is my.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sharma. In fact, that is also our intention for these best practices to be showcased on a national platform so they can be replicated wherever their need arises. And we'll be sure to make efforts within that regard, as we always do. Thank you very much for your inputs, Mr. Sharma. I would now like to move to Dr. Ramakrishna Rao, Commissioner, APVVP, Andhra Pradesh, and maybe he can tell us a little about how they are using web applications and mobile applications for effective hospital management in the state, how real-time referrals and reports are happening, daily updates, geotagging of hospitals, and mobile alerts for officers are helping fight the battle against COVID in Andhra Pradesh. Dr. Rao.
Yes, good afternoon to all dignitaries. I'm Dr. Ramakrishna Rao. First of all, I thank our Honorable CM Garu of our state of Andhra Pradesh for his continuous support and guidance from the beginning of this disease in dealing this COVID-19 in our state of AP. We have taken all steps at every level, from sub-centers and not even sub-centers, even village level, because it's unique structure in Andhra Pradesh. Our Honorable CM Garu has created these village secretariats. That means one village secretariat for every 1,000 population, with one ANM, ASHA workers, and other supporting staff. So with this supporting staff, that means village secretariats, we are able to detect the cases, screen the cases in early stages itself. So this village secretariats, the ANM, by doing this house-to-house visits, they detected cases by digital thermometer, using thermometers and blood sugar testing and blood pressure monitoring, and by seeing the oxygen saturation also. We use it to detect the cases in early stages and shifting these cases to nearest hospitals. Whenever they suspect these cases, suspicious positive cases, medical officers of PH primary health centers, they visited these villages and examined the suspected patients, especially aged persons and also with comorbid diseases like diabetes, mellitus, hypertension, other diseases, and shifting them to the nearest hospitals where the facilities are available to manage this COVID. Like that, we managed these patients to minimize the deaths in our state of Andhra Pradesh. So, in this thing, we hospitals, we we improved most of the hospitals. We are having primary health centers at primary level, secondary level, AP Vaidya Vidhanapesha secondary level, and tertiary level teaching hospitals are there. So we improved by all means all these PHCs, community health centers, area hospitals, district hospitals, and even teaching hospitals also. And we included these private hospitals, private medical colleges, and corporate hospitals also in this COVID management system. So all the system, health personnel, including private, public, corporate hospitals, everybody involved in this COVID management, and we succeeded in this decreasing mortality rate. I think we did tremendous activities in decreasing the mortality in state of AP.
Thank you very much.
Then we.
Mhm.
Then,
Yes, continue.
am I audible? Am I
Yes,
audible?
hear you, Dr. Rao. You're
Yes.
audible, Dr. Rao.
Yes. And we created so many additional facilities in our hospitals. Mainly, previously we were not having sufficient oxygen pipelines, and oxygen availability also were not there. But we created additional pipelines by creating pipelines in every hospitals, including small primary health centers and community health centers. In 30-bed hospital also, we created pipelines. And we have created some liquid oxygen plants in every district hospitals. In almost all medical college hospitals, we created 10 KL and 6 KL like that oxygen, liquid oxygen plants. So everything we equipped. Human resources, we recruited doctors, staff nurse, support staff. Everybody we recruit on special war foot basis.
Mhm.
Nearly almost every hospital is equipped and strengthened by every means, infrastructure, equipment, drugs, oxygen, including ventilators also. Every hospitals in AP state, we are having ventilators as on today. So by this, all these establishment improvements, I proudly tell we decreased the mortality in our state of AP by all means, and especially with the support of our dynamic.
Your audio seems to have been muted, Dr. Rao. If you could kindly unmute yourself. Well, we seem to have lost Dr. Rao there. We'll come back to him in a minute. Before I move on, I would like to invite Mr. Nirmal Bansal, who's not just a career banker and senior fellow with Scotch Development Foundation and perhaps the longest serving Scotch Award member. He also happens to be a distinguished development thinker and practitioner. Mr. Nirmal Bansal, may I please invite you to share your perspectives and your views on these best practices that we've heard throughout this panel.
Thanks, Rohan, for your kind invite. And my congratulations to all the winners in the semi-finals, first of all. Secondly, that the things which is being happening throughout the country, whether these are the police department or the health department or the medical doctors or anybody or the civil societies, including everybody, has been tremendous. As Rohan has already told that the Scotch is providing a great platform for showcasing the best practices which are happening throughout the country by these executors and the practitioners. and which we are a repository, and we have been trying to make a showcase of that to the appropriate level in the decision making and that opinion leaders. So we are very happy to understand that these people have been doing fantastic job, and that's the reason that we have been in a position to contain the COVID, particularly when we are talking about the good governance part of that. So number one. Number two, my one suggestion would be there going forward, because what is happening that right now we are at the decrease of the COVID cases, but so are the testing facilities also. In few of the states, of course, the testing facilities are increasing, but overall in the country it's decreasing, and the number of the COVID cases are also coming down. But it is heard that in Europe and in America, the second wave has already started. So we may also face that sort of problem in winters or so. So all these warriors who have been working hard, the work is not yet completed. They have to work still harder, to contain that, and we must see that second wave doesn't hit to India. This is number one. Number two, what is happening? I mean, policing is doing a fantastic job, no doubt about it. But take example, I talk about Haryana; they are also doing great job. But still, that social distancing thing, is not being implemented. Take example, the share autos. In that, you will be finding 8 to 10 people still carrying 8 to 10 passengers in one auto, which is again hazardous for the health of the entire community. Number two, the police, they are peeping into the cars of the people, whether the masks are there or not, but not containing the people who are going in the public transports. And they are just in one group, 8, 10 people in one auto rickshaw, so that we can avoid all these things. And I really do not know in other states and other cities how it's happening. I'm sure that police will take care about it, and health department, of course, they are doing their bit. But what is happening to stop community spread, we need to look at that. Now coming to the another point which Rohan has very rightly pointed out about that best practices sharing. So as I already told that you people have been doing fantastic job from all over the country, and we have been trying it all the platforms to take it forward and tell. And that Scotch Awards are the independent awards, which are not bought, these are with the absolute merit based, and that how much efforts are going into shortlisting and then awarding, and you must have already experienced it. So I would suggest that more and more such projects should be presented on this platform. In quarters, we are trying to manage some of the conferences. Today also we find that more than 600 people participated into the webinar. Right now also more than 500 people are live to watch this program. So it shows the popularity of the program, plus the recognition which is given by this platform for the good work and the best practices is immense. And I congratulate all of the participants and the awardees once again. And now over to you, Rohan.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your kind inputs, Mr. Bansal. I agree with you that the path ahead is paved with difficulties, but given India's collective capacity to not just survive, but also thrive during times of crises, I am sure that we are bound to overcome all the challenges that we are presented with, particularly also in terms of the great work that we've been hearing about from the expert practitioners and dignitaries within this panel. Do we have Dr. Karthikeyan Gokulchandran with us? I believe he was in a meeting earlier. Dr. Karthikeyan, are you with us on the panel? I believe we seem to have lost Dr. Karthikeyan there. I would like to bring in an agricultural perspective at this point before we open up the discussion to Q&A. Bihar Agricultural University, Sabur, has implemented a novel program called Apni Kyari, Apni Thali, which they are using to meet nutrition deficiencies in diets of people within the area. They are using mushroom cultivation, establishing nutri gardens, and using community awareness programs to make sure that nutritional requirements of people during these difficult times, specifically protein deficiencies, are met. May I please invite Dr. Ravindra Sohane, Director, Extension and Education, Bihar Agricultural University.
Thank you, Rohanji, for giving opportunity for this large e-gathering. Definitely, Bihar Agricultural University, Sabur, has taken an initiative to address malnutrition through agricultural intervention, Apni Kyari, Apni Thali, in collaboration with ICDS, Department of Social Welfare, Government of Bihar, and technical collaboration with UNICEF. This initiative aims to bring together existing Krishi Vigyan Kendra. As we know that in every district we have one Krishi Vigyan Kendra and Anganwadi Kendra centers, and overcome nutritional deficiency of protein and micronutrients through diversification for food and creation of awareness to the among children, pregnant and lactating women in rural areas. So, with main objective to diversification of food intake among rural women and children through establishment of Nutri Garden and under Anganwadi Kendras, ensuring quality nutrition among malnourished children and mothers through mushroom-enriched food in their diet, impact of nutrition education package on malnutrition among rural women and children. We have taken this program in 4 districts on pilot basis in Patna, Nalanda, Pune, and Khagaria district through existing KVK to bring the perceptible improvement in the nutritional security through multi-pronged approach, awareness of nutritional education, incorporation of mushroom to daily diet, and enhancing diet diversity through establishment of Nutri Garden at Anganwadi Kendras was the core strategy. As we know, earlier this Anganwadi Kendras land is not used for any person, now being used for Nutri Garden as well as mushroom production. So 50 Anganwadi Kendras we are selected in each district, and a strong linkage was established between respective KVK and Anganwadi Kendra with the help of ICDS Department of Bihar. And we see the impact that establishment of Nutri Garden has significantly enhanced the daily consumption of nutritious vegetable and fruits among the pregnant women, lactating mothers and children. If we see that in the pandemic COVID period, we have also provided vegetable and mushroom for boost up their immunity. Assessment of Nutri Garden suggests a positive change on several general indications among the women and children up to tune of 20–25%, and inclusion of mushroom in the regular diet of the malnourished children and pregnant women resulted in enhanced supplementation in amount of protein and micronutrients such as phosphorus, magnesium, calcium, iron, and zinc. The supplementation of mushroom has resulted in fulfillment of approximately 12% protein, 22% niacin, vitamin B, magnesium, and 36% zinc toward recommended dietary allowances. And we have also 2 community registrations. So CRS-led nutritional awareness campaign resulted in significant improvement in knowledge, attitude, and practice in various lifestyles related to diet. In last September month, we have already celebrated as a Poshan month. So in these month, we have also used our Kisan Gyan Rath as a Poshan Rath. The use of green leafy vegetable mushroom moringa in daily. Moringa is mainly all of know role of moringa. सहजन की पत्ती का हम सब लोग सभी महत्व जानते हैं. In daily diet has been increased to the tune of 10 to 15%. Awareness on hygienic food, safe drinking water care during diarrhea, anemia management has enhanced up to 10 to 20% through awareness campaign. And this model has been adopted by Government of Bihar in 18,000 Anganwadi Kendra, which has land resources on their own. And we have seen that in each Anganwadi Kendra, we have produced 300 to 400 kg mushroom, as well as in each last 6 months in pandemic period, each produced more than 10,000 kgs vegetables and moringa fruits, that costing more than 20 lakhs rupees during pandemic period. So we have further prospects. KVK and Anganwadi centers are present across the country, and this model has huge potential for outscaling. And this AK80 model, apni thali model, can be easily customized according to region, and this can be adopted in midday meal scheme. So this is the main model, and I hope this may be sustained. And besides this, we have also during pandemic COVID period, we have our YouTube channel, and in this channel, more than 3 crore viewers, but and 3.13 lakh subscriber, and we have all the video contents, technical as well as success stories. And during pandemic period, 65 lakhs persons joined in YouTube channel, and 65,000 subscribed during pandemic period. So I think this model may be replicated in national level, upscale national level. Thank you, Rohanji.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sohane, and I would also like to, at this point, address the 532 participants of the 67 Scotch Summit who are attending this panel live, and say to each and every one of you that you are an equal and integral part of India's development policy and progressive governance dialogue. Thank you very much for being here. Before we close, I would like to open up the panel to questions and a Q&A. I would like to invite Dr. Gursharan Dhanjal, Managing Director and Editor, Scotch Group, to open up some questions to the panel. Dr. Dhanjal, over to you.
Thanks, Rohan. Quite an interesting and diverse discussion. What I feel is, when it comes to a common problem, which is faced by either a district or a state or a country, the response generally is designed in such a manner so that there is a kind of a uniform rollout and uniform addressal. In context of pandemic, whether it is the migrants problem or alternatively contact tracing and technology usage, more or less it's almost the same, but we have discovered our new role within our existing roles. Given that, I would like to point this to Dr. Varun Kapoor. Given that the police anyway happens to be a very, very a difficult job, policing. On top of that, we have COVID to fight with, the law and order and the enforcement issues. Within that, if you are innovating like the way you have for CyberClaw, which was pre-COVID, and you've continued doing that, becomes very, very difficult to sustain these kind of projects. Ultimately, they tend to be driven by a champion. And once the champion goes, the project also goes along with that. So that creates A, sustainability problem, and B, the efforts put in by like-minded officers over a sustained period of time kind of goes down the tube. So how do you make it champion-free and process-driven? Dr. Varun.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, it is like definitely the initiatives come from individuals. There is no doubt about it. But the effects, if they are good and if they are something which is seen to be something effective, then definitely it is taken up for the future part of the effort also. So individuals do the initiatives, and then people like you, the groups like you, this kind of platforms which we have, in which we can showcase what we have done. This can be then consolidated here. People from all over the country are today with us here, right? So they are hearing what all these projects have done. So these are the ideas they will carry with themselves. And I'm sure they will be at the back of their mind when they start implementing something in their own areas. So that is one way. This kind of events, your group, Scotch Group, is doing a great job, that they're giving the platform for people with ideas, people with innovations, people with who have started things which are revolutionary or maybe something very effective, to be spread all around the country. That is one thing. The second thing is, as I said, that if it is effect is good, if like CyberClaw, we are working with the forest departments of various states, and it is being driven by the Government of India, Ministry of Environment and Forests. So if the effects are good and the results are perceptible, I'm sure they will formalize it and then use this experience to have a formal kind of initiative launched in the time to come. But as I said, this both the things will work together. Initiatives have to come. I can't ever feel that this kind of means good things should not be done just because they may not be carried on. So it's the job. Our job is to start it. Our job is to put it on the rails. Then it's up to the people to follow, who to take it forward. Or if it is not that good enough anyway, then it will fall apart. But if it is good, I am convinced, because I have 30 years of public service and started a lot of projects in a lot of areas, and a lot of them have continued. Like I remember I started in Indore, where there is a city here. 25 years back, Nagar Suraksha Samiti, the first one I formulated here in Indore when I was SPCT. Today, it's all over the state. Then another thing is Family Counseling Center. The first one we started here in Indore, 25 years back. Today, it is Parivar Paramarsha Kendra Counseling Centers. It is formalized, legalized, and it is being implemented all over the state. So I'm sure good ideas, if they are implementable and if they show results, they will be taken forward. And platforms like you, Mr. Dhanjal, what you're doing is a great job. These ideas can be spread all over the country with these kind of platforms.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Varun Kapoor, for those kind words, and thank you to each and every one of the distinguished panelists who've joined us on this panel on learning from best practices, as well as the jury members and the audience who've stayed with us throughout.